All right, good morning. Welcome to Thursday. Today we're going to talk about air conditioners and how they work. But to understand that, we need to understand some principles of science. And so the first thing we need to understand is what's called and I don't even know if I pronounce this right, but the adiabatic principle, okay? And what that says is when things are compressed, their temperature rises, okay? And the reason for that is molecules at a temperature are moving a certain speed, okay, and they're bumping into each other, and that's their temperature then. So it translates that. So as we compress something to make it smaller, they're moving at that same speed, but they're bumping into each other more because they're closer. When that happens, the heat goes up, okay? Well, once it's compressed and they're bumping into each other, eventually as the air temperature takes some of that heat away, they'll start slowing down, they'll move at that speed again, okay? Then when we expand that air, or that item, when it expands, they're moving slow again, and they're hardly ever bumping into each other because they're so far away, so then it is cooler. Again, over time, even though it's been expanded, the temperature will even out, and they'll move at the same speed to bump into each other. So it only lasts for a little while, but we can change temperatures by compressing or decompressing things. So right now I have this spray bottle and there's just air in there, okay, and it's at room temperature, so those molecules are moving at that temperature's rate. So as I pump this bottle up, I add pressure, okay, so now inside the tank is warmed up, okay. Now if I let that sit for a while, eventually it'll just be back to room temperature. So if I warm it up and then I let it go back to room temperature, so it's compressed, it cools itself back down. Then when I release it out of the end, I guess there's a little water in there. When I release it out of the end, it comes out below room temperature. So we start at room temperature, we compress it and let it heat up. As it cools back to room temperature, when we let it back out, it goes below room temperature. So we were at room temperature, compressed it, it slowly works itself back out, and then all of a sudden we release the pressure and it drops down. And then eventually it'll work itself back to room temperature. But we can have spikes in temperature up or down by compressing or releasing after it gets back to room temperature. So keep that in mind when we talk about the air conditioner. So here's a little air conditioner that I use to heat and cool my shop. It's called a mini split heat pump. Okay, so it'll do both heat and cool, but does the same thing just in reverse. We'll talk about both of them. So in the summer coming up here, I'm going to want to cool down my shop a little bit. So what happens is the Freon, we talked about that in the car the other day, so the Freon is what we're going to expand and contract, or heat up and cool down, okay? Not expand and contract, we're going to compress and release. So when it comes out of the shop, through those pipes over there, okay, and it comes into the air conditioner here, the air conditioner is going to compress that Freon. So the Freon is the temperature of the shop, so let's say it's 70 degrees, comes into the air conditioner, and it compresses it. So let's say it goes to 110. I don't know exactly what it is, I'm just saying. So it was 70, and then we compress it to 110, okay? Then it runs through these little tubes back and forth. You see all these little pipes in here. It runs all the way through there, and there's a big fan that blows. So it blows air across it. So it was 70, compresses to 110. Then they blow the fan across there to cool it back down to the outside temperature, say it's 80. Okay, and then once it's 80 degrees, it goes into the garage, and then they decompress it so it goes from 80 down to 60, and then I'll show you in there how it blows the cool air across. So if you ever go outside in the summertime and fill your air conditioner, it's just super hot air. That's because they've compressed the Freon to make it hot, and then they blow air across it to cool it back down. Okay, so once it goes through all of here, then it's back to say 80 degrees, whatever the outside temperature is. Okay. So once we get back inside the shop, I've got this opened up so you can see it. So that 80 degree Freon comes inside, and then they decompress it. They let it back out, okay? So when you decompress 80 degree air, you probably get like 60 degree air. Well, then a fan blows through there and it blows that 60 degree air into the shop, and that's how we get an air conditioner. Now there's a little bit more to it as far as the Freon actually turns from a liquid to a gas when it's compressed, and it's a little bit, probably some more science to it. But the whole idea is that we're compressing and expanding the Freon, and we're changing temperatures. So another good example of that is if you ever take an air hose and then you just blow it on your skin like we do in the shop. It feels kind of cool because it's air passing through, but it's also actually is colder air. So the air coming out is colder than it was just sitting in the tank. And so this is the same thing here. Now in the wintertime, I'll heat my garage with this same process. It's just in reverse. So it takes the cold air outside, brings it in and compresses it, makes it warm. We blow the warm air off of it, okay? Then it goes back outside and expands and gets cooled off again, okay? So it just goes in reverse. So that's a heat pump. So if some people have a heater and an air conditioner in their house. So the air conditioner works like this, and the heater actually works with either electric or gas flame. And then some people have a heat pump, which a heat pump is just an air conditioner that goes both ways. It either puts the hot air inside or puts the cool air inside, depends which way it goes. So like I said, I'm sure there's a lot more complicated explanation than that. The long story short, that's what we're doing, and that's how an air conditioner works. So hopefully you guys learned something new today, and we'll talk to you later.
I say it's a good time.